We don't win down here. We lose. You ready for that? Oh, you were a post-millennialist. You thought we were just going to go waltzing into the kingdom as you took over the world.
Welcome to Nobody with a Bible. I'm Chief Nobody Brandon. And here we talk about all the things and use biblical discernment while doing so. So let's dig in, not using your feelings, but God's truth.
What's wrong with you people? I'm serious. I mean, this is what's wrong with the Christian church today. We don't know who God is, and we don't know who we are.
So yesterday was a ridiculously special day in our household because our oldest turned 17 years old. So something that's neat about this is you and I started dating when you were 17. I was 17 when we got married and had our son, which is cool because I've now been a mom for literally half of my lifetime. But I wanted to ask you, one, because I think there's not very much coming from the dads as far as what's out there, right? Like if I get on YouTube or I pull up stuff, like it's usually going to be a mom's perspective. But I wanted to hear from you, what has 17 years of fatherhood taught you?
Wow.
Just a little question to throw together for a quick little podcast.
You know what's hard about this?
What?
To answer this question?
It's a really deep question.
Well, the fact that I have such a good-hearted child.
Yes.
Like,
and we're not like, and I honestly, I know anybody who's met our son, but like his whole life, every person who has ever met this child has gone, oh my goodness, that kid has a heart of gold. Like
he has
next level.
Such a presence to him. Just such a kind, it's just so pure.
Yeah.
And he's so naive.
Genuine. He's so genuine with it. Yeah.
And because he's so naive.
Yes.
And so he doesn't know how to be anything other than awkward and genuine.
Yeah.
That's it. You know,
like if you
got
want
that
a teenager to fit into your mold of like being a teenager, like doing the things, like our son is going to fail you.
Right.
He can't do that.
And
which I'm thankful for.
I've spent the past couple of years just observing more so at him, and just letting him develop on his own. And I haven't even put my hand. And it's not like I haven't been there. I have been there for him, but
he's on a great track.
He's just.
Like, you don't need to step in
I don't need to do anything right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I do. I want people to understand what I'm saying. Because, like you said, this is not something that the men do, that the guys do.
You're not seeing a bunch of corrections that you need to step in and force.
Right, I am watching over my child, but I am not seeing these spots where I need to go in and sit down and be like, hey, like that.
Talk about this.
Like
what are
this
you
just
doing?
Isn't happening. His process of him working through things has been such a pleasure to watch and just observe. So that's why it's very difficult for me to answer this question to other people, because of the fact that I deal with things with him. Of course we do. He's not perfect. But I don't have
being just like the rest
right,
of us.
but I just
Absolutely.
don't have these same issues with him as I see that other people have with their teenagers and their kids, and their boys especially. I guess to answer that question, I think one of the things that what is this supposed to be? I learned in 17 years of fatherhood.
17 years of fatherhood now that you have had. Literally, today would have been your second day of being a parent 17 years ago. What have these 17 years really taught you?
That nothing else matters than caring for and raising your family.
Being present.
And being present. Because if I would have 17-year-old me in the thought process and the things that you think when you're that age, and even the things that you do, and I've had a lot of time to reflect over this over the past week,
Because you were 20 when you became a dad.
I was,
you know?
and then like we said, I was his age when we got together, and
Yeah.
and I was like, I was a much different teenager child than he was on epic scale. Like it was not night and day. I can't even imagine him doing some of the things that I did. He wouldn't do it.
We can't imagine
You know,
doing
I
any of the things
I
that
tell
you
him
did.
some of those things, and he looks and laughs and just goes, "I can't even like. Why would
He does-
you're
he
an
goes, "What?"
idiot?
He goes,
Why
"What
would you
was
do
wrong
that
with you? Why
Yeah,
on
he's
earth
like,
would you do that?"
Why would you do that? And
You're like, I don't know. I wish I would have asked myself that question.
yeah, and there's and so I just wish that I could have told me then and what he knows now, and that just made me feel a little bit better on the parent scale, because you never think that you're a great parent, but then I'm like, man, I would have told my 17-year-old self that I would have wanted you to be where you are now. Like, of course, I want him a little bit more motivated and things like this, but he knows the importance of taking care of your family and being there and just doing this life as a family, and that does mean your immediate family. But for those of us who are followers in Christ, and I think this needs to, you need to have your church family, your loved ones around you, like your brothers and sisters in Christ as well.
Your family
Because
are
it's
those
gonna
who
be-
do the will of the Lord. And
It's
our
not going to
kids
be
know that.
just your husband and your wife. Like, your brothers and sisters in the Lord are going to be able to come in and help you with this. And it's a community effort, like, and that's why it's so important to either have that local community, or we've been able to build an online community like that, which has been incredible. It has turned into a local community. People come and we have this, and I know that we wouldn't have made it through all sorts of days and times if it wouldn't have been for our other brothers and sisters in Christ. That we're just, supporting. So it's important to have that, and for a dad to lead his family, in this way. And I guess, the other thing that you wouldn't have understand, but the most important way in leading your family is not financial. Yes, that is
That's a part
along
of
up
it.
there
It's part of
with
it.
number one. But that's not the main focus. The main focus is spiritual and leading
I
your
would
family
take you
in the Lord.
being present and spiritually leading our family over making money any day, because you can be physically poor, right? Financially poor, and get by and get through life a-okay. You cannot be spiritually poor in spiritual poverty and get through this temporary life, let alone the eternal one. So if you have to pick one, and I'm so thankful for that time, gosh, over a decade ago now, when you had that, why am I doing this? Why am I slaving away for career and all of this stuff? Like, when we have a beautiful family, right? But why are we doing this? This is insane. And I'm so grateful for that. That was such a big journey of changes for our family. And, you can't get time back. So what are you giving your time away for?
No.
And if it's not building up your family and it's not pursuing the Lord, then what are we doing? You're wasting it.
I couldn't imagine, watching the corporate. I can't imagine being away and not home until the one guy I worked with, he lived 3.5 hours away, and he wouldn't get home until 9 o'clock at night. He left at like 5 a.m.
So you literally spent a full workday nearly in your car commuting every single day.
And then
On top of
you
your
just
hours
go
in the
home to
office.
go to sleep,
Yeah.
and to take a shower and leave. So it's basically, why don't
Just get a hotel.
yeah, and he would do this all week, and I looked at that and I was like, how do you leave your family like that? You never see them. You see them on Saturday and Sunday. You're 2 days off. With Saturday, you're halfway sleeping through. But then no, in the corporate world, Saturday morning, you're up playing golf, you're meeting with client, you're doing all this stuff. And I'm like, what you have maybe a few hours that you go to church to keep up appearances on Sunday with your family, and you go out to lunch and then go home and watch the football game, and then that's the end of that. Then it's back in the same process again. And I saw that and I was like, there is no way that that's what life is all about. And if that's what I have to do to become successful and have all of the things that I, all of the whole house, the money, the car, all that stuff, like if that's the life, yeah, no thanks. I'm good. I don't ever want to do that. I want to make sure that my family means way more to me than that. So, that's what kind of snapped in me. And now I'm completely on the other extreme side of it, right? Like,
our kids couldn't fathom not seeing you. I mean, we've worked from home for a decade now, and our kids, like, they couldn't even fathom like what that would be like not having you. You know what I mean? Like, to them it's just so crazy and so weird. And that makes me sad because it is so doable, but it means that you have to let go of your earthly, I have to have this and it has to look like that and whatever, and you have to make these changes and adjustments. But doing what the Lord desires for your life is never going to mean that you are going against what his word says, right? And so, especially like looking at Titus, right, we see for men and women, right, our direct like instructions of the order in which we keep our priorities. Not that that's the only place you see it, but just thinking specifically, there in Titus 3, and you have that. And why don't we do that, right? Mm-hmm. And so you put that in and you see the family fall into order and all of these things. And I think that, again, when that happened for you, did I say Titus 3? I think it's Titus 2. I don't know why I said Titus 3. Now it's like messing me up. But when that kind of happened for you and you started going, wait, what are we doing? What's the point of life when my focus is everything away from my family and outside the home and not being a biblical husband, a biblical father, doing all of this.
Well, you're doing absolutely nothing.
You're literally just wasting your life away.
You're just an absent father at this point.
Yeah. And it's so sad, I think, because for
or
fathers,
mother
or whoever, but talking about fatherhood specifically, for fathers, priorities are usually career and financial, and then it moves into sports and hobbies and things of that nature. And we might try to slap a sticker on it to say, oh, this is for the kids or for the, you know what I mean? Like we put our reasons on it of why it's okay, but at the end of the day, it means that your focus and your care isn't on training your children up in the ways of the Lord. It's not on being there and truly nurturing their spirits in your relationships.
And here's some things that I've learned too about this, that they're a gift from the Lord, which means they're leased to you. Okay, they're not. They are yours. You're their earthly human father. But they were leased to you and put in your care and given as a gift. Like, this is on you.
And how quick we take that for granted.
We do.
Right?
This is on you.
You realize, my kids, I can put my kids on the back burner.
That your child is never going to be 17 again.
Yeah.
He's never going to be 16. He's never going to be 50. All those times I see now, and this has just been crushing me lately because
I
our little
up
girl.
every picture of all of his birthdays,
and you always do that.
Where did it go?
But I look at Ollie now,
our
and
youngest.
Ollie is going to be, her next birthday will be 4.
And I don't know how that happened.
I don't know either. But I'm looking at her and I'm going, this is it. Like, this is the last time that she's going to be this toddler. Next thing I know, I'm going to have this 17-year-old ogre in my house like I do now. And I'm like, that's never going to happen again.
Yeah.
But think about that. And to the people that are working in all, like, think about that. Like, you're not going to get this time back. So is what you're doing, is that really that important?
And
Is it really for your family?
Yeah.
Or is it for you? Is it that you have to spend time away from your family so much that you can't stand being with your family? Is that what it is? Because most of the time, these people that just work, there's issues at home.
Yeah, so you're avoiding it. You
Yeah,
don't
they're
wanna
like,
have to
man,
deal
the
with
kids
it.
annoy me. Wife annoys me. I'd rather just be at work all day.
Or you drown in hobbies and sports and whatever your thing is that you dwell in. And I mean, everybody has to look at this. And you're not saying that men who have a job aren't doing, no. There's a difference between, hey, this is my job. You have a job, right? This is my job that I have to go do. So I go and I do it. I do it to the best of my ability.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
I'm not married
But it's not
to it.
married.
That's not my priority. It's not what my, heart and soul and everything is poured into. It's the means by which I have to do it, and I do just the absolute.
But the important
what I have
thing to mention that is, though, if your family is failing in any way,
Yep.
your thought process right there is completely void.
Yeah.
You're not doing any, it doesn't matter if you're like, yes, I know that I am not treating, yes, I spend time with my, clearly you are not. If your family is failing, you are not spending enough time with your children. You are not spending enough time at home. And this is on you. And this is the biggest problem that I see with the guys.
Yeah.
This is that it's not just financially supporting your family. It's spiritually and being there for them and being present. It's not.
And I am most certain that every wife and child would agree, hey, I would much rather us have to live on less and have more of you. Have you here involved in training up your children and working through the hard stuff and being here and having fun and, doing stuff truly together. I mean, I've told you a million times, being in ministry, if it means we have to live in a tent, I'll go live in a tent. Because I'd rather have that over chasing the corporate, all the things.
And I'm not
day.
talking from a self-righteous standpoint here, because this is something that I still have to be with. Even now, like with the work that I have, it makes me busy a lot.
Yeah.
So I have to make sure that I am constantly present and I am truly supporting my family in the way that I should. This is something that I constantly have to do. This is not
and
coming
it gets
from
out of whack
I'm
sometimes,
better.
and we go, hey,
it does,
you have
and I
been
can
too
see it.
busy, and we
need
more of you.
And it gets violently bad.
Yeah.
And that's on me when that stuff happens. That's my fault. I have let it get to this point. I have done this. I have ignored things. I have gotten annoyed with things myself. And you end up just doing these things. You end up serving yourself in the flesh with that's what happens. That's the result. Is that an excuse? No. And that's what I'm saying is we can't let it be. But a lot of the people that I deal with, or a lot of the people that I hear stories from, a lot of it is the fact that you are losing your family. And just remember that these children are leased to us. And you're only serving yourself if your family is failing and your people are hurting. And so, I mean, you're not serving anybody other than yourself, and you're selfish. And this is something that the guys need to understand. And, again, I don't want to, as you said, we're not saying that financial is not the part of it, because it is. Doing that is
but it's
absolutely
not your
a responsibility.
number one, and everything else is back burner.
But if your kids if you're having all kinds of problems at school, your kids are talking back, they don't go to church, you don't, you're not in the Word together as a family, they don't, your kids hate all, are crazy and acting out and doing all of these things, guess what? You're failing. And you're biblically failing and spiritually failing your family if these things are happening. So
don't ignore it.
No, don't. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't have these issues. So anyway, I guess we could keep this going for about.
Okay, so final
4
thoughts here,
hours.
real quick. Okay.
Yep.
What do you think? One thing that you are thankful that you have learned to get right in 17 years of fatherhood. Top thing.
Man, I got something right.
Yes, you've gotten things right.
I haven't. I just being thankful for your family and just realize the love that you've been given in your family and your wife, your kids, however it may be.
Yeah, I would say I am most thankful for the Lord truly humbling you and bringing you to where we all should strive to be spiritually, right? That you truly gave your heart to the Lord, repented of your sins, and completely transformed your life, because the impact of that on our children is just, next level. One of your, or whatever you can think, one of the worst habits, worst regrets that you have thinking back on 17 years of parenthood?
Maybe not, man, there's a lot, but at the same time, a lot of those things that happened brought me to where I am now.
Absolutely.
And I learned from them. Mm-hmm. So I would say that maybe I figured it out sooner would be my only answer to that. And I wouldn't, I have plenty of regrets, but, just been more present and had more focus on family rather than just trying to get life right.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, in that you do a really good job with is don't dwell on it, right? All of us as parents, moms and dads, you look back and you go, oh my gosh, I would have done this. I screwed up my kids. I was a horrible whatever, right? Like we all can do that, but don't dwell on it, right? Because today's a new day. So apologize, ask for forgiveness, and then do better, do different.
Yeah, I think, showing the...
Don't live in those regrets,
Confessing those things.
Yeah.
Admitting that you're a horrible, rotten person that...
Needs Jesus
just like everybody else. And, you need forgiveness from your family, from anybody that you hurt around you. And you need to just move forward. And a lot, you don't have to make it awkward. You make that statement. You just say, look, this is what I did. I'm sorry. You don't need everybody to be like, oh, it's okay. You don't need any affirmation.
No.
You're a guy.
Yeah.
You just say it. That's it. And do. Say and do. That's it.
Let your actions
this is where
loud.
This is where your guy can come in. You go, you make your statement. You say, look, I was wrong. This is right. That's it. It doesn't have to be any emotional
and then get to
thing,
work and do
and
it.
then just get to work and change it.
So 17 years, I'm so thankful that...
and I'm still figuring this out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So please don't.
I'm just so
please
thankful
don't come to me thinking that I know what I'm talking about.
I'm so thankful that the Lord gave us, first and foremost, to one another, right?
Yes,
to get to do this parenting journey with. But I'm so thankful for the dad that you are to our kids.
You.
Really, though. And to see them light up. All of our children they love you, and they love being with you and doing stuff with you and talking with you, right? And all of the things. And
yes, I am very, and that's oh gosh, that's so important, is being close with all of your children.
Yeah. And they do, and they love it so much, and they eat it all up, and, to all of our kids, you hung the moon, and all of this stuff. I love it, though, and it's so awesome to see. So 17 years of fatherhood, I think you've done a great job, honey.
Thank you, love.
Love you.
Love you.
On the day of judgment, do not fear for the atheist so much, the thief, the murderer. If you want to be afraid for someone on the day of judgment, be afraid for those who carried the title pastor. Let me give you an example. I gave this example last night. Let's say that a king had a bride. He loved her. He dressed her in white. She was pure and precious to him, and the people admired her for her virtue, for her merit. And the king has to go on a long journey, and so he tells his steward, he calls his steward in and he says, here are the directions, and you are to care for my bride. You do not deviate from this, not one jot or tittle, and when I come back, you'll be rewarded, or I'll come back and you will be severely punished. Keep this book, these instructions with regard to her. Well, after a few years, this steward realizes that the people are losing their loyalty in the king, and they're no longer concerned about the bride because, well, she's just prudish. She's old-fashioned. So he takes her and takes off her beautiful white garment and replaces it with something really sensual. paints her face like a prostitute, and then marches her up and down the kingdom and uses this new look to attract carnal men back into the kingdom. When that king comes back, there are no words to describe what he will do to that steward. And when Jesus Christ comes back, there are no words to describe what he will do to many of these men who call themselves pastors, who have done to his bride exactly what the steward did in that parable.